Range anxiety, a new phrase to the lexicon of the environmentally conscious, refers to the constant worry experienced by an electric car driver that their car will run out of charge before they can reach a charging station. It is often cited as the most important reason many are reluctant to buy electric cars. Hayden Parmar, Director at UELO E-Mobility Program and Secretariat for the Electric Vehicle Industry Association, says, range anxiety is usually brought about through the low exposure to electric vehicles and understanding of their operations, a perception. He says a change in behavior is required. Parmar notes drivers need to start using recharge opportunities when their car is parked and idle, such as at the mall, at work, or at home, instead of going to a dedicated refuel station. There are currently 95 stations around the country where electric vehicle (EV) owners can recharge, including shopping malls and car dealerships. Tabaseng Matsip, Nissan Africa Head of Communication, says, as different types of electric vehicles are introduced, such as electric commercial vehicles and trucks, we will need to expand the charging network more to support that. The company says it is looking into creating stations that charge using solar power. The Nissan Leaf, which was the first fully EV to enter SA, has a 135 km range on a 100% charge. The only other fully electric car in SA, the BMW i3, has a similar range. These EVs are city cars and are not meant to be driven across country. Nissan and BMW in 2015 signed a memorandum of understanding that will see them jointly install EV charging stations across the country's main metropolitan nodes. This means Nissan Leaf and BMW i3 owners can charge their cars at either BMW or Nissan car dealerships. Parmar says in SA, as of July, 355 100% electric vehicles have been sold since their initial market entry. The Nissan Leaf was introduced to the market at a price point of over R450,000 in 2013, placing EVs out of reach for most South Africans. Motsip says, the upper end of the market traditionally accepts, and can afford, new technology first. You will see this trend with most new technologies, including autonomous technology, hybrid propulsion, as in our Infinity range, and electric vehicles. Over time, as the technology becomes more commonplace and less expensive, it can be commercialized and introduced in more affordable vehicles. We expect very slow growth in the next decade. However, as technologies become more accessible over time, the uptake will increase. Parmar says EV owners also need to be aware of regenerative braking, where a user is able to add an additional amount of energy back into the battery by adapting their driving pattern. An electric vehicle has a feature of regenerative braking which allows the driver to lift off the accelerator pedal earlier than normal and allows the electric motor to slow down the vehicle. This feature and driving pattern can aid a small amount towards extending the range of an electric vehicle through making use of this additional feature. Parmar says as battery technology improves, there will be longer range options available from the electric vehicle manufacturers which will debunk the current perception of range anxiety. Nissan is launching the next generation Leaf next week in Japan, and while it could not disclose details, it is expected to have double the range capacity of the current model. The radical rate at which electric vehicle technology is developing is surprising many forecast statistics that have been presented, so the consumer options across electric vehicles options are going to exponentially increase, says Parmar. Jaguar, Audi and Volvo are all expected to make global electric vehicle announcements next year. However, Parmar is not sure SA will see them soon. Currently in SA, the import taxes are not supportive of sustainable vehicle technologies like electric vehicles. EVs are imposed with an additional ad valorem excise duty in SA, which is a disincentive for a sustainable transport option. The current taxation framework of electric vehicles is being addressed through the Electric Vehicle Industry Association to the Department of Trade and Industry alongside the International Trade Administration Commission. The Department of Transport has been actively developing the Green Transport Strategy, which aims to provide a facilitative framework of green transport legislation, inclusive of electric vehicles. The city of Twain is one of the first metros to incorporate EVs into its fleet of vehicles. Approximately 28 million tons of carbon dioxide equivalent are emitted per year within the city of Twain, and just less than a fifth stem from transport-related emissions, says Executive Mayor of Twain Salim Samanga. As such, the city is exploring every possible measure to reduce this footprint, including transitioning to cleaner mobility. The municipality believes investing in electric vehicles is strong endorsement of these vehicles. Parler says, efforts towards developing and implementing electric mobility in SA need to be facilitated by a multiple of stakeholders within the respective public and private sector organizations. Greater awareness campaigns need to be incorporated across government, industry and academia to enable the transition to electric mobility.
Nissan has refreshed its popular 370Z sports car for the 2018 model year. The car, which was first put into production in 2009, now features visual updates such as black door handles and a black rear bumper fascia, as well as dark tinted headlamps as standard. New 19-inch alloys are also available, as is a new red metallic exterior body color. Models in GT and Nismo grades benefit from the Nissan Connect Premium infotainment system as standard. This includes a 7-inch touchscreen, satellite navigation, DVD player and rear-view camera. Power still comes from Nissan's 3.7-liter V6 engine, which produces 324 bhp and 363 Nm of torque for a 0-60 mph time of 5.1 seconds and a top speed of 155 mph. Drive is sent to the rear wheels via a 6-speed manual or 7-speed automatic transmission. Those 370zs with a manual transmission now benefit from a high-performance clutch from performance brand Exetti. Nissan says this helps to reduce driver pedal effort and allows for improved gear change precision. Ryan Gaines, Chief Marketing Manager for C-Segment and Sports Cars at Nissan Europe, said, "For nearly half a century, Nissan's Z-Car series has built a cult following among sports car fans with a passion for performance and quality. The Nissan 370Z MY18 remains true to this legacy, further elevating driving dynamics and classic design to new levels." The updated Nissan 370Z is on sale now, with prices starting at £29,185.
On September 5th in the US, Nissan Motor Company will pull the cover off the 2018 Leaf, its first production vehicle that will steer and stop by itself at least every once in a while. This week, Nissan loaded its version of this hot take onto some of its SUVs and brought them to New York for a test drive, the perfect place to put a new phase of autonomous technology through its paces. Driving in Manhattan requires a modicum of zen, something most New Yorkers don't have, at least not when they're in a car. Anything to help commuters tune out a little, to tick up the chill a few notches, is helpful for everyone traveling along the city's congested arteries. That's precisely what Nissan's new system, dubbed ProPilot Assist, is supposed to do. When activated by the push of a button and the setting of cruise control speed, it keeps the car in the center of a lane, steering through corners. At the same time, it maintains a safe distance to the vehicle ahead and will brake all the way to a stop, the default state of most Big Apple drives. It even resumes driving without a prompt, provided that the automobile has only been still for less than 3 seconds. "Basically, we're focused on fatigue reduction," explained Andy Christensen, Senior Manager of Nissan's Intelligent Transportation Systems Research. "This suite of robot pilots is not," Christensen insisted, "a self-driving system. The steering wheel senses feedback, not touch. If there isn't evidence of any physical tug, ProPilot escalates a series of warnings, including audio chimes and brake checks. Eventually, the vehicle will turn on its hazard lights and come to a stop mid-lane. Given that humans are now able to land space-scraping rockets back on the ground as if they were lawn darts, the new Leaf isn't exactly vanguard stuff. Plenty of vehicles on the market do what Nissan's new system offers if you can afford them, that is. The Leaf, however, is intended to fill the autonomous capabilities gap that exists for machines that cost less than $40,000 or so. What Nissan's driving robots deliver is a passable impression of a Mercedes-Benz, or an Audi, Tesla, or Volvo. Passable, though, is the key word. Nissan's package isn't infallible. For one thing, it requires clear lane markers on each side to steer properly. On our 40-minute jaunt from Midtown Manhattan to its northern peak, painted lines were sporadic and the system often simply shut off, signaling its snooze with a chime. Meanwhile, it's designed to steer only up to a certain level of aggressiveness, the parameters set by forces of gravity. Coming into a series of twists a little bit hot, the robots couldn't keep us centered, even though the car was still plenty capable. The problem is that the sensors and cameras that allow for a more seamless autonomous drive tend to be expensive, and thus remain squarely in the realm of luxury cars. Nissan's ProPilot uses just one camera to read the lane margins and one radar unit to measure distance to the vehicle in front. "We're trying to make it accessible and attainable," said Brittany Tesmer, senior engineer on the project. In the gray area between analog driving and full autonomy, Nissan's new system represents a very light shade, which to me is the biggest drawback for it and all the other systems like it. It's only a mild iteration beyond adaptive cruise control, which comes standard on 25% of current vehicles, and lane departure warnings, which are available in 1/3, according to Edmunds.com. When the driver is alert, the nanny steering and braking can be annoying, particularly if one likes to drift toward the inside of sweeping highway curves. If the driver isn't alert, it's even more grating. To be sure, that noodling is necessary, but I've found myself wondering more than once, is this an autonomous step too small to be worth taking? Why not just wait to roll out something more fully cooked? There are always going to be people who just want to get in and wake up in their driveway, Tesmer said of the desire for full autonomy. Until the technology gets there, they don't want it. What the ProPilot seems suited for, most directly, is the smartphone. With one hand on the wheel, a driver can easily toggle through emails or watch Fast and Furious flicks. The system may not be self-driving, but in that case the driver certainly won't be either.